Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'll be bringing you my first PC budget build using the easiest and most cost-effective method. So the budget build today consists of a Dell Optiplex which I upgraded with a used GPU and I added some extra RAM. Now this is a good entry point if you're new to PC gaming, especially at the time of recording, which is April 2018, where GPU prices are still way over the MSRP due to the cryptocurrency craze, and RAM prices are still really expensive due to the shortages. So I'm going to quickly go over the parts that I selected and the costs associated with them. I'll go over the build process and then we'll get into the game benchmarks. So the computer I selected is the Optiplex 790, which came with a i5-2400 CPU and 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM. Now I've seen the Optiplex 790 go around for about $100 on eBay, but I got mine for $86 shipped. Now the reason why it was cheaper than normal prices because this one didn't come with a hard drive, so calculating the hard drive cost is actually about the same price. So when I purchased the Optiplex, I noticed that 2 of the PCIe slots were filled up. I didn't really know what they were until I opened it up and uninstalled it. So there were 2 Radeon HD 6350s inside, so which came as a bonus to me. So doing some quick research online, I found out that the Radeon is actually a really old and crappy card, but since it came free of charge, because I didn't expect to get it, it could be a cool video to do as maybe a crossfire since I got 2 of these. So after removing the 2 Radeon cards, I added a Zotac GTX 750 Ti. Now this was a spare card from a previous build, so I didn't have to pay for this specifically for this build. But at the time of recording, this card costs about $90 to $95, so I'm going to use that as an estimate to the overall budget, so that give you an accurate idea of how much this budget build would be around this time. Next, I added 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, which costs about $16. Now that brings the total RAM to 8 gigabytes, which I believe is the bare minimum for nowadays. And finally, I added a 320 gigabyte hard drive from Western Digital, which cost me about $13. Now that brings the total cost of the budget build to be about $210. Now with the build out of the way, let's do some gaming benchmarks. The first game I ran was Fortnite, which ran surprisingly well at 1080p and medium settings. It averaged close to 60 FPS throughout, with a low of 52.3 FPS. The gameplay was smooth. There were no major delays. I didn't notice any stuttering, even in major gunfights. And it was an overall great experience. Next we have Tomb Raider at 1080p and medium settings, which averaged at 60 FPS with a minimum of 58. Now there was a cap at 60, that's why the max never exceeded 60 FPS. Next, another older title, Sleeping Dogs, also at 1080p medium settings. Now this averaged 51.1 FPS with a minimum of 29.9 and a max of 70.6. Now a newer title, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, at 1080p, also medium settings. Now this averaged 51.3 FPS with a minimum of 35.5 and a max of 89.8. And finally, we got BioShock Infinite, also 1080p medium settings. Now this averaged 58.8 FPS, minimum of 43.4, and a max of 85.3. As you can see, this PC runs slightly older titles fairly well at 1080p medium settings. Now the obvious bottleneck here is the 750 Ti, and if your GPU prices wasn't this ridiculous, I probably would have gotten something better like the 960 or the 1050 Ti, which would have helped a lot with performance. Now, if you want to run some of the latest titles like Witcher 3 or Doom, you might have to dial it back to low 1080p settings or even 720p, unless maybe you're okay with 30 to 40 FPS, which is playable for most people. But given today's high GPU and RAM prices, this is still a good entry point if you want to get into PC gaming today. But in my opinion, it's probably better to wait until prices normalize a bit and you're able to buy GPUs and RAM at their fair price, MSRP price, so you can get a better performance in the future. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.